You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through the door. Don't need makeup to cover up. Being the way that you are is enough. Everyone else in the
This is IPS Podcast 2.2. We're talking about the moving man and the worksheets that he brought to us. So let's get going. So question number 7 is given some people, it's caused them to think a little bit, and that's good. Remember, the moving man is supposed to travel from the left side back to the over to the right side, turn around, come back. And the question is, what happens, when the velocity is positive and the acceleration is positive? So they're both going in the same direction. Now, I couldn't film the moving man as in motion, so we're just going to take some screenshots. And here's our first one. So we have the moving man at negative 10 meters from the center, and that's his position. And then I just put the velocity at 6 meters per second, and the acceleration at a positive 1 meter per second squared. So if we look at the graphs, you can see that by position, the position graph is actually not really straight. It's actually curling a little bit. It's curling so that the slope is increasing. And if you take a look at that velocity graph, let's get our laser pointer out here. So there's our curl. Wow, I love this laser pointer. And then you can see this line right here. This is also increasing. Well, this is the acceleration. Okay, so the velocity starts positive and increases. And we see that we have an increase here. So at no point are we going and slowing down. Actually, we're speeding up as we crash into that wall. So the results, the moving man, he starts at 6 meters per second. He actually accelerates closer to maybe 8 meters per second. And it's a positive acceleration. So he's going faster. And it's in the direction of the velocity. That's what that means positively. Therefore, crash. So now another option, and keep in mind, we're only worried about the positive and the negative parts of this. Okay, your quiz tomorrow, if you have a quiz tomorrow, this might be, this could be 10 years down the road. I still need using this video, but in 2012, your quiz tomorrow is not going to be about values. It's going to be about, knowing whether slope is positive or negative, knowing whether velocity is positive or negative, knowing how to, the relative velocity between two lines of two slopes. Okay, so we just want to talk about whether a slope is positive or negative, and slope equals velocity. Keep that in mind. Slope always equals velocity. Let's write that in. Gosh, that's a good idea. Slope equals velocity. Okay, but that's only on this graph right here. I didn't want to do that. Let's try that again. It's only in the graph that is, let's make this red, slope of this graph right here, okay, of the position versus time. So position versus time. Okay, so let's now take our moving man, and we have a position of negative 10, like same as we had before. We have a velocity of 6, which is the same as before, but now our acceleration, instead of being a positive 1, it's going to be a negative 1. Now we saw this in class, but let's move this guy, and actually, oh shoot, let's see, I cut out the little guy. I want to make him move. Now this is all messed up. Okay, there he is. Okay. Yeah, Industrial Light and Magic has nothing on me. Oh, okay, there he is. So we're just going to move this guy right now. So we press go, and he starts off at 6 meters per second, but then he's slowing down. So he's got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. He turns around, and I don't know if I could. No, he's just going to go backwards. And then he accelerates negatively the entire time back to here, crash. Okay, let's see what that looks like. So when this happens, we see that the slope of the line is always curling down. It's always decreasing. Okay, so we are starting here, and let's take a look at these two spots together. And as we're getting up, that the amount of the velocity is actually decreasing. It's decreasing further, and and we get to the very peak right here, we're at 0. Okay, so then we're sliding down further, and our acceleration this entire time is negative. This slope is the acceleration. So we're going back to the original point. That point is going to go back to -10, and the entire time we have a constant velocity, or constant acceleration. The velocity is actually decreasing over time. So this is how you do it. You started off with we started off at one end. You start off with a velocity of 6. You can go with 6. Oops, that's the wrong thing. You can go with 6, or you can go with any type of, whoops, okay, fix this. Okay, so you start with a velocity of 6, and then you have an acceleration that is -1. Okay, you can go 12 and -2, it doesn't matter. But as long as you have a positive velocity and a negative acceleration, you will succeed in this trip. All right, number 10 is almost the same problem. The only difference is that you first have to get rid of the walls. So you have to press the minus buttons on those walls, and they will disappear. And the instructions you got were they made some improvements to the software, so I'll have to make an adjustment to that for next year. But all you have to do is press those buttons here. Then Movie Man's going to move, and he's going to keep going to the left, and he's going to go off the screen. Okay, so he's going to disappear for a moment. He's going to be on the left side of your computer screen. He's going to be off of there. Okay, but eventually he's going to turn around and he's going to come back. So the last time we were moving to the right and then to the left, and then we had to have a positive velocity and then a negative acceleration. Well, this time we're going from the right to the left, which means our velocity now has to be negative. So we put a negative 12 meters per second in. Okay, and then he's got to come back this way, which means his acceleration has to be positive now. So I put it 2 meters per second down, or per second squared. Note the units. We're going to get into the units eventually, but for right now, we just want to be accurate. So if we press the play button, this is what's going to happen. So take a look at here. This is the midway point. I pause it at the very halfway, and the way I know it's the halfway point is because I can see what the velocity is, and it's very close to 0. I couldn't quite stop it at 0. But I stopped it very close to 0. He's actually heading back now. His velocity was negative, and now it's a positive 0.25 meters per second. But because he's accelerating with a positive acceleration, 2 meters per second squared, this position is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so it's going to go from negative 26 to positive 0 to 10. And this velocity is also going to is going to increase. So here it's negative 12, and then it goes -6, and now we're at 0. So when I press the start button again, and we finish the graph, and we let him get all the way to the end, he's over here now. Where's my laser pointer? Actually, watch this. I'm going to get a new one just to make you guys watch this. It's a bigger laser pointer. Boom. Yeah. Okay. Stop it, right? But take a look. He's over here now, and the velocity has just been a straight line all the way across. Look at my parabola. It kind of goes down. It's going to end up down here, and you notice. Look at this point right here is at 0. So then it comes up again. It actually matches that really nicely. And my acceleration has just always been 2. It's always been 2 across the board there. But velocity goes from negative to a positive. And we have this big loop of a motion graph. Okay, now he's back to positive 10. Down here he's at negative 26. Remember that? So now he's back up to 10, positive 10. He's getting close at like 9. But this is how you would show this graph as well. Okay, so let's just review the position versus time graph. This is showing a slope. This slope is increasing just ever so slightly until we get down to here it's 0, and then we get increasing more. So he's going as fastest right here at the greatest slope. We extend that slope. Okay, and you can also see that he's going as fast as here. He's going to positive 12 meters per second, and it says it right there. All right. So this slope is the acceleration. That's a positive slope. This one starts as a negative slope, goes to 0, goes to positive again. All right, that's it. I'm going to try to get this up. It took me a lot less time. I cheated on the music. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Get a good night's sleep for that quiz. Bye.